Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we move on to more detailed comments, we would like to point out a number of key general points. Not for the first year now, the Sixth Committee is holding substantive debates on the agenda item, Crimes Against Humanity. These discussions and the comments of states sent to the International Law Commission consistently demonstrate that there is a significant divergence in the positions both on the content of the draft articles of the ILC and the recommendations on their subsequent fate. Given these diametrically opposed views, our delegation continues to not see a prospect for the development of a universal international instrument on the basis of these draft articles. Another serious question is whether there is any added value in this. The international legal basis for resolving challenges facing states has existed for a long time, namely the plethora of treaties on legal assistance and the Convention on the Non-Applicability of Statutory Limitations to War Crimes and Crimes Against Humanity of 1968, which was developed on the basis of the charters of the Nuremberg and Tokyo tribunals, which were embodiments of customary international law. Our country participates in this instrument and recommends those states that have not yet done so to consider acceding to it. Moreover, questions of crimes against humanity, given how serious they are also regulated within national legal systems. In this regard, to the group of countries that most of all refer to alleged shortcomings of legal regulation and legal gaps in this area, I would like to recommend that they focus on, first and foremost, developing their own legislation. Given the continued disagreements on this subject, we continue to see the issue of adopting a convention on the basis of the draft articles on crimes against humanity as premature. Nevertheless, the Russian delegation did not object to convening a resumed session of the committee in order to hold an interactive discussion. We underscore that we do not see this work as a process of developing a text of a convention. We are here in order to exchange views on the articles and also on what to do with them subsequently. In conclusion of our general comments, I would like to recall that on the agenda of the Sixth Committee, there are also other subjects where progress has been blocked for many years by those self-same delegations that advocated intensifying work on crimes against humanity. Those ILC products include, for example, the draft articles on the responsibility of international organizations for wrongful acts. We trust that our colleagues in the Sixth Committee at the upcoming 78th session will be consistent and will not block a decision to convene a resumed 78th session for an in-depth discussion of that and perhaps other stalled products of the ILC. Madam Chair, our delegation does not support the politicization of the work of the Sixth Committee. But since some delegations have already felt that this is possible, we are not going to leave their attacks without a response. In connection with the accusations that have been voiced against my country and references to the issuance of so-called arrest warrants of the International Criminal Court, I would like to underscore the following. This biased, politicized, and not competent so-called court, once again, in doing this, has proven that it is harmful and flawed, hastily issuing the so-called arrest warrants. It was not even bothered by the way that the question was phrased. It is not only void of any legal basis, but is quite simply inhumane. The ICC condemns the is condemning the evacuation of children from an area where hostilities are raging. Accordingly, according to the ICC's logic, they should have been thrown right onto the front lines, in the firing line. And this is another example of an excellent example of how they care for children. And there are other examples from the practice of the ICC that we also recall all too well. The NATO invasion of Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya led to hundreds of thousands of victims among the civilian population, including women and children. The ICC had full jurisdiction in each of those situations, but it did nothing to bring those guilty to book. We have also not seen any arrest warrant for Western service personnel without mentioning the leaders of those states. A citizen of the United Kingdom, Karim Khan, once he had taken the position of the prosecutor of the ICC, deprioritized investigations into NATO soldiers, NATO staff. Quite simply, he brushed it all under the carpet. Hundreds of thousands of victims, they exist, but there are no guilty parties. And there won't be. It would be extremely naive to expect any justice from the International Criminal Court. This court is a puppet in the hands of the collective West, which will never act against its backers and will do anything they want to do in terms of justice to order. We all recall the hastily put together in just 3 days accusations against Muammar al-Gaddafi based on falsifications, and the ICC prosecutor planting Ragra onto the for forces in Tripoli. And so some mysterious mercenaries, and all of this was a pure and simple lie. And in doing so, the ICC was carrying out an order to be complicit in the destruction of a once flourishing Libya. The Russian Federation is not a party to the Rome Statute and sees any documents coming from the ICC as legally null and void. By all accounts, this court has once and for all decided to destroy itself, first and foremost when it comes to the authority of its authority and international recognition. Madam Chair, I will conclude by responding. I'll conclude my reactions now, and I'd like to say in conclusion that our delegation intends to seriously and professionally engage in dialogue without politicization on the subject that we have chosen for the resumed session of the committee, and we trust that other delegations will take a similar approach. Thank you.